So last week, I told you guys that Artsy recommended 66 galleries to me. And at first it just felt like a lot of information. Like, cool, that's a lot of galleries. But if you know me, you know I'm not gonna keep anything at the surface. I'm not leaving things on the surface. So I said to myself, I'm gonna actually use this list, do the research, and see what I could learn and how I could turn this list that Artsy recommended into relationships. So this week I did, and one of those galleries really surprised me in the best way. And the gallery that I'm talking about is called Red Arrow Gallery. Have you guys heard of it? Let me know in the comments. It's based out in Nashville. And by the end of this video, what I hope for you guys is that you're gonna understand why I can't stop thinking about their program, why I can't stop thinking about this gallery, this space, and why understanding more about them made me advocate to them for one of my artists. And also why it reminded me that research, especially when you're deep into researching something that you have deep passion for, is never gonna feel like homework, but will actually feel more like a reward. Will really feel more like discovery. So before we get started, before we jump in, if you love discovering artists, galleries, curators, and the stories behind them, and you also want to just stay engaged with art market insights and hear from some of this industry's leaders, make sure that you're subscribed and that you hit that bell. That's how you're gonna know when we post new discoveries, new videos, which we do every single week. Now, if y'all were with me last week in the Patreon, in our workshop, you already know that we built a framework for researching galleries specifically for your career. And we also focused on how to read their story, how to understand the rhythm that they're in, and see if their energy matches yours. You also had the chance to complete the guided worksheet that should have given you a lot more insight and more clarity on how to connect with galleries. This week, I wanted to take that framework out of theory and put it into practice, because it is one thing to talk about what galleries fit you, what galleries fit artists, but it's another thing to be active in understanding that alignment. And Red Arrow was the one that made me want to get active. So section 1, I want to talk about how the list that Artsy gave me through their algorithm becomes a map for me. When Artsy dropped that list of 66 galleries, I started scrolling like anyone else would. But after a while, all of these names, these galleries, they all just started blending and bleeding together. At this point, at this first step of discovery, these galleries are just names, and they're names attached to a hero image, which kind of prompts me to go further, right? But all in all, at this point of the discovery, I know nothing about their programs. So instead of chasing the entire list, I decided to just take a moment, take a beat, slow down, and reflect. What am I chasing right now? Why am I chasing, and why am I not searching to understand these galleries? So I started reading about each gallery's story, looking at who they show, how they talk about their artists, what their exhibitions feel like. So if you know the work that I do, I'm always on an active assignment to be the bridge between artists and spaces. But this needed to be less about finding opportunity, less about finding representation, and more about seeing where the conversations are happening, who's doing the real work intentionally and directionally, who is active in their intentions, and if there are any actual overlaps and synergies between the galleries that are in front of me and the artists that I know deeply. And that's how I landed in this deepness of trying to understand Red Arrow Gallery. Now, if you're curious while I'm talking, there is a link to the gallery below, and go ahead and peek at their roster while you listen, and you'll see exactly what I mean if we have any of the same taste. The gallery stood out to me, and here's why. The first thing that caught my eye was, of course, the artist. It's the first thing I clicked on. It's the first tab I click when I go to any gallery website. Artists. The thing about this gallery was there were people there that I already knew. Demetrius Wilson, Ashanti Kendall, Kyrie Turner. These are artists that I've either worked with in the past. Actually, I've had a conversation with Demetrius Wilson here on this channel, and I've curated a show where his work was exhibited within that show. I've also had the opportunity to meet and have a conversation with Ashanti Kendall in Chicago at some point, and I actively follow the career of Kyrie. So I seen names that I was familiar with that I had no idea had exhibited or worked with this gallery. So discovering that all three have shown with Red Arrow, that was automatically, oh, okay. That was a moment of recognition. I may not be familiar with the gallery, but I am familiar with some of the artists that they work with. And I thought, okay, this gallery already understands something about what I care about. And then I started digging deeper and digging deeper. I started falling deeper in love with the choices that they make. And then I discovered that Red Arrow is women-led. And it's founded by Katie Shaw, and it's directed by Ashley Leyendecker. And they've built this program in Nashville that's connecting Southern artists to these global conversations. They're showing up at fairs like NADA, New York, and Untitled Art Houston, which I actually didn't even get a chance to see them here. And they're also partnering with Good Black Art. And that was another moment where I'm like, okay, that's amazing. That's really good. Here's another opportunity that gets me deeper into liking this space. But what got me wasn't just where they show up or who they were showing up with or the artists that they're exhibiting. Their language is also rooted in care, and you can tell there's this collaboration there, and there's this rigor, and there's this want and this desire to partner with people that they align with, and they're building relationships, it seems. And the artists that they support, it seems that they want to stay with them and they want to show them again and they want to help them grow. And to help them grow is the part that's rare. So I enjoy when I see it. Now, I want you guys to keep in mind, at this point in my research, I still haven't spoken to them. I don't know them. I don't know anyone there. And even the folks that I do know that have interacted with them, I have also not spoken with them. This is simply the way that they present that is shaping my perspective, and that feels intentional and directional. But here's where it got real for me. Instead of thinking, what can I get from this gallery? I started thinking, who could belong here? One of the artists that I work with felt completely aligned with Red Arrow's program. Mind you, this is how I feel. This is how I feel. I don't know if they're going to feel the same. But it felt like the story, the tone, the care they seem to show their artists, the fact that it's women-led. So I reached out to them, not with a pitch deck or a long proposal, just a simple, thoughtful note, a real human message. And you're able to do that. You're able to be human and reach out in a human way when you actually feel a way, right? And so that genuine connection, search for that. Search for the real connections, because the real connections, you don't have to sound strategic, because it comes out natural. I'll put the blurred version of that email on screen, but if you want to read the full version of what I sent and see exactly how I approached that conversation, that's available inside the Glory Collective within the Building Glory tier. Now, if they get back to me, I'm still not going to share the full email chain. That's crazy. But maybe it could be interesting to show how that relationship actually unfolds. And I really hope that it does. Nothing is promised, but at some point, if it does, and when it's appropriate, I'll keep you guys updated. So we're breaking it down together this week. How to introduce yourself or an artist to a gallery with intention, care, and with that genuine appreciation for their programming. Sometimes advocacy isn't about being bold and direct and so brash. A lot of times It is. But I think the relationships that actually flourish are the ones where you really felt the connection. So it's about being clear, being aligned, and being kind. And that's what I tried to do in that email. I've done the deep work to make sure, at least on the first level, that the artist and the gallery, from my perspective, align. Now, if they get back to me, the gallery, the artist and I can explore that even more, that alignment. We can explore it even more. Now, the reason I even wanted to go deeper into this topic is because alignment is the question I hear the most. And I hear it in many different forms. It doesn't always have the same sentence, but at the core of it, people want to align. That's both artists and collectors. So everyone's trying to find their people, their spaces, their partners. And the problem is we move so fast that we don't always stop to ask, is this and could this be right for me? Does this relationship make sense before I even approach it? That's what this framework, what we built last week and are continuing this week on Patreon, is for. So as y'all can see, we do the core work here, but we do the deep work there. And the work that we're doing, it doesn't just work with it's not only for galleries, right? It's for curators, it's for collectives, it's for independent organizers. When someone says to you, hey, I want you in this show, or you say, hey, I really would like to work with you, to a gallery or to a curator or to whoever you're talking to, before you even utter any of those words, you have already done the framework, even quickly in your mind, to know, wow, this might actually be an alignment. You've asked yourself, does their story align with mine? Do we communicate in a way that would make sense for a relationship? Is there alignment? Is there intention? Is there direction aligned with their intention? All the things we talked about in last week's video and then deeper in the Patreon, right? You're asking those questions and you're answering them. You can even do it mid-conversation with someone. You don't just approach everything. You don't just say yes. You search for the alignment. You look at their past shows. You understand what kind of artists are they working with. And you are actively trying to figure out, is this actually alignment? Ask if the conversation that you're trying to have through your work is the same one that they are also trying to have, or if it makes sense for them to have it. Being clear about your intentions, that's always going to help you and keep you from having to be cautious about your choices, because you're going to be clear about them. That list of 66 galleries turned into one possible connection. And the thing is, I'm going to go back to that list. I'm going to dig deeper in that list. I mean, I'm actually going to choose to trust Artsy's algorithm, that they recommended things to me that somewhat make sense. Now, if I can go deeper and figure out, does it actually, it might turn out well. Being active with your discoveries is an act of care for yourself. It means that you being active with your discoveries is an act of care for yourself. It means that you're not always starting from scratch. You're using the things that you discover and you're digging into them. When we study where we want to belong, we end up finding more than opportunity. We find connection. And for me, that initial connection happened through Red Arrow by the way of Artsy's algorithm. Learning about their program, advocating for one of the artists that I work with, paying attention to what their initiatives are, giving an invitation. That connection for me happened through learning about their programming and falling in love with the choices that I'm seeing them make. So if any of this made sense to you, and if you're curious about how to go deeper, you want to learn more about researching galleries, you want to just follow along with me and do the work that I'm doing in real time with me for your own career, your own collection, that work's happening in the Patreon, in the Glory Collective. So join me there. That's where every Dear Glory video, each one of these conversations turns into this learning and application lab. And right now we're in a workshop called From Algorithm to Alignment. And I know it's kind of cheesy, but that's what we're doing. We're going from algorithm to alignment, from discovery to alignment. And last week we built the framework, but this week we're expanding that framework. We're expanding it so you can use it not just for galleries, but for curators and collectives and the opportunities that are already coming your way, or the ones that you're thinking about approaching or creating. If you just want to stay connected and get early access to new videos and reflections, join the Start in Glory tier, okay? In that tier, every single week, I ground these ideas through a before the video voice note where I talk deeper about why I'm even thinking about making the video that you're watching right now in the first place. Along with that, I provide a guided worksheet for you so that as you're watching these videos that appear here on the public platform, you have guided questions to ask yourself through the worksheet, guided moments to pause and write through prompts. And joining the Start in Glory tier helps you utilize these videos, these public videos, more strategically for your own practice. Now, if you want the full shebang, the full workshop experience, the additional worksheets, the guides that bring you deeper into understanding how to apply the concepts that we are giving here on YouTube into your own practice, how to deepen the business of your art practice, of the aspect of your practice, and along with the business of your practice, Building Glory is where you should be. There are also additional videos exclusive to Patreon and templates for things like how to write an artist statement, plus so much more. So join the Building Glory tier if you want to go deeper into applying what we do here on the channel to your personal practice. Now, I get a lot of DMs on Instagram or emails asking me for one-on-ones. If you're one of those people and you want one-on-one strategy work where we can take these topics and we together apply them strategically to your practice, that's where you want to join the Master in Glory tier. We also, within the Master in Glory, we also do portfolio planning, our custom career, our collection mapping. And what that career mapping looks like is taking a look at your career, thinking about where you want to go, where you want to be, and we come up with a strategic plan. You can also explore all of that through the link below, because listen, glory is not about a moment. It's about the process. You can't have a glory without the story. You can't have a glory without all of the work in between. So let's get to work. Thank y'all so much for watching and for being a part of this journey, this Dear Glory journey. I'm more than appreciative. If you enjoyed this video or you learned something or you want to have a conversation with someone else about what we talked about here today, or if you just loved hearing about Red Arrow or any of the artists that we talked about, share this video with someone who's building their own path in the art world. And that also genuinely helps so much. But I also want you guys to keep in mind and keep at the top of your mind Gloryland 2026. 2025 was absolutely amazing. We brought voices like Dr. Joy Simmons, Richard Beavers, Lester Marks, Aisha Selden, Evita Tiziano, Amari Gibson into conversation with one another to give you their perspective on how they have approached their collecting journey, or as well as their journey as artists. And I think it's important for you guys, as well as myself, to be in conversation and to hear from them. I'll see you guys next week. And I think next week I'm going to dig into something market wise. I haven't actually planned the video yet, but I think it's time for us to dig into the market. We got to talk about what's going on, especially as this year ends. So I'll see you guys next week. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. Thank y'all for being here. Peace.